over annotated agendas.
Okay,
Yes,
no
I
problem.
think, yeah.
Okay.
That's what we wanted to know. Perfect, thank you. So here's your speakers list and your annotated agenda. Now, I had initially written in here that we had a staff presentation on this item, but I think that was going to be a last minute call if you wanted to have
No,
that
we don't
up.
think so. How many
just
people
ignore
have
that.
registered? How many people have registered to speak to that one?
1, 2, 3, 4, you're 5.
Can we move the developer discovery in?
You can,
We can.
you can certainly.
Okay, no problem.
I leave that to you.
Okay, thank you. Well, away we go.
So I think, do you have all your amendments?
Good morning, folks. We do have quorum. Good morning, Mr. Ainsley. I'd like to call the 7th meeting of the Scarborough Community Council to order. Welcome to all members of the Community Council and, of course, to the members of the public and the media. We acknowledge the lands we're meeting on is the traditional territory of many nations, including the Mississauga of the Credits, the Anishinaabe, the Chippewa, the Haudenosaunee, and the Wendat peoples, and now is home to many diverse First Nations, Inuit, and Métis people. We also acknowledge that Toronto is covered by Treaty 13 of the Mississaugas of the Credit and the Williams Treaty, signed with multiple Mississaugas and Chippewa bands. Is there any declarations of interest under the Municipal Code of Interest? If so, indicate the item number and the nature of the interest. May I have a motion to confirm the minutes of the Scarborough Community Meeting of May the 22nd, 1919? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. Now let's proceed with a rundown of the agenda. Members, if you wish to hold an item, please state your name, say the hold for the items and the speakers. I will hold those items. Item number 1, SC 7.1, request for exemption front yard, 70 Falaise Road.
Mr. Chair, I'd like to move a motion to defer that item.
Can we have the motion up, please? Any questions of the mover? No questions. Any speakers? All those in favor? Any opposed? Carried. SC 7.2, 3850 and 3900 Sheppard Avenue East, and 2350 and 2362 Kennedy Road, official plan amendment, final report. We do have speakers. I'll hold that in my name. SC 7.3, 3453 Victoria Park Avenue and 50.68 Morcambe Gate zoning bylaw amendment, final report. Don't think we have any speakers. I would like to move. It's timed item. I'm holding it. Thank you. SC 7.4, 2775 Birchmount zoning bylaw amendment application, final report. That's also timed. Also timed. We're holding it. Thank you. SC 7.5, 6351 Steeles Avenue zoning amendment and draft plan of subdivision application, final report. Timed. SC 7.6, 1001 Ellesmere Road, part lot control exemption application, final report. Hold it.
I think you're supposed to call the...
Councillor Thompson, sorry.
Thank you. You can move the item.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.1, 2787 and 2791 Eglinton Avenue zoning amendment application, status report. Councillor Crawford.
I'll move the staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.8, proposed official naming of future park of Cleanside Road in Scarborough. Councillor Crawford.
So what number was that?
8.
SC 7.8.
Okay. Actually, can we reopen sorry, I was looking at another item. SC 7.7, yeah, I apologize. If we can maybe just reopen the former item.
Okay, all those in favor for reopening?
Sorry,
All right.
I'm carried.
All right, Counselor, take your time.
I did circulate a letter to, my colleagues. This is just an update to make sure that, come September, this development, will be moving forward. I have worked with staff on the motion, so I'm just wondering if I could move
Can
that
I have the motion up, please?
It's based on the letter, so you've seen it. And if there's no questions, I mean, I don't mind moving it now, but we can hold it back, but I have worked with staff on all of this.
Any
Everyone
questions
comfortable with this?
of Counselor Crawford?
Okay, good. I'll move that. and-
Any speakers? You spoke? All right. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right, Counselor, the next one is SC 7.8, also yours, proposed official naming of future park of Greenside Road, Scarborough.
Yes, I'll move staff recommendations on it.
Okay. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.9, residential demolition application 2209 Kingston Road, Counselor Crawford.
I will move, recommendation number 1 to approve the application to demolish.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Yeah, with the conditions. Sorry, yeah, with the conditions.
With a condition?
Yeah, which is 1.
We're good? All right. SC 7.10, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Route 1-70 Eglinton Square. Councilor Crawford.
I'll move staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.11, designation of fire routes and amendment to Chapter 880 Fire Routes 25 Halbert Place. Councilor Crawford.
Again, moving staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.12, designation of fire routes and amendments to Chapter 880 Fire Routes -1 Transfer Place, 2215 Morcambe Road, and 1 Golden Gate Court. Councilor Thompson and Councilor Lai.
I'm good.
Staff recommendations? Okay, all those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.13, traffic calming speed and U-turn prohibition, Brandenburg and Low Crest. I believe that we have speakers. I'll hold that in my name. SC 14, stopping prohibition, Bonus Avenue. There was one amendment that I have. If the staff can put it up, we can certainly deal with that. I can hold it if you want. Okay. We prohibit stopping on the south side of Bonus between Kennedy Road to 475 meters back. This was something that, we had an item before. There were people that came to speak on this, and this is addressing the buses, the ones that take people to casinos, being stopping on the south side of Bonus. There's a library, and, the staff recommended that we go 175 meters back. I'm asking that we go back to the west entrance of the mall. That way, no buses stop around the curb on Bonus. Okay, can I ask staff to put up the map, please? Are you having questions of me, Counselor? Of the mall? Okay. 475 takes you all the way around the bend. I think so, Counselor. There we go. Counselor, if you got questions of staff, I will entertain that, but I'm going to keep a strict order today. So I put a motion forward. If you have questions of staff, please ask the questions of staff.
Mr. Chair, I did say that, I'd like to, let's just hold this down.
All right? You're holding it in your name? Oh, I want to deal with it. If you want to hold it in your name, gladly hold it in your name, Counselor.
I asked that it be held.
Okay, fine, fantastic, then I'll hold it in your name. I'll hold it in your name.
The rules are that it's held in the person's name, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. SC 7.15, Bamberg Circle. I'd like to move staff recommendations. This is stop and prohibition of Bamberg Circle. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 716, stop and prohibition, Redley Avenue. There is a motion that I'd like to put forward, please, if the staff can put it on. This is stopping on both sides to the end of the street on Redley. Yep. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Installation of traffic control signals at 225 Milliken Boulevard, SC 7.17. I'd like to move staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 718, traffic operations review, Bridlewood Boulevard. I'd like to hold that in my name. SC 7.19, compulsory stop controls, Hallbank Terrace area, Councillor Lai.
I move a staff recommendation.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.20, standing prohibition, Scottville Drive, Councillor Lai.
Again, I move a staff recommendation.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.21, standing prohibition, Scunthorpe Road, Councillor Lai.
I move a staff recommendation.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.22, term prohibition, East Avenue, Councillor McKelvey.
Thank you. I move staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.23, U-turn prohibition, Brimley Road South, Councillor Crawford.
I will move staff recommendations.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. All right. First item that we need to deal with is SC 7.2. There's a staff presentation. I will ask them to hold back on it. I think everybody knows what it's all about. Now, we do have speakers. I would like to...
I'd like to see the staff presentation.
Okay.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of Scarborough Community Council. My name is Christian Ventresca. I am the Community Planning Manager for the planning area. I'm standing in this morning for our staff lead, Jessica Kwan, who unfortunately was unable to attend, but she's been the staff lead on the project for the past 2 years. And this is a very brief presentation providing an overview of the recommended site and area specific policy for the Agincourt Mall lands. The North American Development Group submitted an application in June of 2017 to permit the comprehensive redevelopment of the Agincourt Mall lands. It was a master plan concept integrating new format retail into the base of mixed-use developments, new parks, open spaces, residential community. Densities were about 4.2, as you'll see in Table 1 of the staff report when originally submitted. It was since revised to 3.9, and we've been working with them to further bring the density and unit counts down over the past 2 years. Given the complexities of the project, the city undertook, with the collaboration of the applicants, what we've been calling the Agincourt Mall Planning Framework Review. The site sits on an avenue in the official plan, so we felt that given the atypical size and complexities of the site, that we would undertake a broader review with the community. Each checkmark on this top line represents a milestone in the Planning Framework Review, including a status report which was considered in June of 2018 by Community Council, outlining options, a vision, and a guiding principle. Taking direction from Community Council last June moving forward, we've gotten to the red box at the far right of the screen, which is today. We had a local advisory committee meeting in February, a public open house in March, and have been refining the draft policy framework ever since. This has been running in parallel with the official plan amendment application, and the recommendations before you today, while grounded in the planning framework review, are on the application itself, and recommend a site and area specific policy for approval. The process has been driven by community input at each phase, summarized in the reports, but there are a number of different formats of meetings, pictures of which are on the right-hand side of the slide, including a design charrette where we blue-skied the site, local advisory committee made up of the previous and now current local councillor and a number of business owners, landowners, and residents in the area, a number of open houses, as I mentioned, and pop-up consultations on the mall site itself. Just a general, in broad terms, the community feedback raised, and I'm sure you'll hear more from speakers this morning, transportation and infrastructure issues that are currently existing but also tied to development levels on the site. And we heard a lot about the importance of retaining the retail on site, both in terms of size and experience, with concerns raised about the change in format from a single-use mall to a more porous retail environment with some outside circulation patterns. We have, and I'll get to how we've responded to those, but we've very much appreciated the public input. I think it's driven the project forward, made for a better recommended result. And while we still have a long way to go before we see any development on the site, it has been a pleasure working in the community with residents and business owners alike. The site and area specific policy before you this morning is based on a preferred alternative. There were a number of different ideas and options that we worked on with the applicant for the site, but this is generally how things shook out, which represents a slight departure in terms of heights and densities from the original application, a decrease in density and unit count, and adjustments in height and built form. Ultimately, it's about creating a complete and connected, safe and vibrant transit-oriented community, recognizing the diverse character of the Agincourt area and a number of different guiding principles that shaped our thinking moving forward. We did hear a lot about transportation, and what's an interesting story about transportation is the reformatting of the site from a single-use retail commercial site to a mixed-use context actually improves the transportation question over the long term. So the bar graph in front of you shows what the mall could generate from a traffic perspective, vehicular trips only, should it continue to develop under its existing planning permissions. It actually isn't as big as it could be. It could grow as a mall to, over time, and it could, because malls tend to be more car-driven, particularly in this context, than multimodal driven, it could create another 2,100 trips over time, and this is an average of the peak over time, where residential uses on the site in a mixed-use context will start to shift travel modes away from the car to transit, to walking, to cycling in the community and in the area, leveraging the adjacent improvements to the Agincourt GO station, express bus service for now, ultimate higher order transit over time, but also the new road network that will emerge will encourage walking and cycling in the area and help people have a choice to not necessarily always use their cars. So again, the site and area specific policy before you today lays out the vision for a complete mixed-use community. There are maximum permitted densities of 3.5 and heights of generally 40 stories, which fit in the Sheppard Avenue context, both in the former city of North York and also planning frameworks that exist east of Victoria Park in the former city of Scarborough. It outlines a vision for new public parts, laying out approximate sizes, an enhanced retail experience, a clustering of commercial and community uses, and improved connectivity with an enhanced public realm. It also outlines future opportunities to secure public and community benefits. Our next step shifts to implementation. While we're at the end of one story today with the official plan amendment application, there are still a number of stages to hit and a number of milestones to check, including a zoning bylaw amendment application and draft plan of subdivision application, which has yet to be submitted, individual site plan control applications for each block, and draft plan of condominium if required. Ultimately, that's about establishing parks blocks, open space blocks, development, et cetera. But most importantly, it's where we really start to get into the nitty-gritty of securing the appropriate infrastructure upgrades. The Planning Framework Review did identify some capacity constraints, and before development were to occur, we would have to be satisfied that those constraints have been met and upgraded appropriately. And we've given ourselves the flexibility to phase development through the SAS with potential holding bylaws, also requiring the applicant, through their zoning bylaw amendment and draft plan of subdivision applications, lay out the phasing in detail so we know more about the long-term build-out, probably 10 to 15 years. We'll also understand the details about built form, the retail program, the anchor stores, the individual restaurants, et cetera, and most importantly, continued public consultation and continued reporting to Community Council for approvals. So with that, I'd like to echo the staff recommendations that Community Council approve the SAS that's attached to the report this morning, and will be available for questions later along with my colleagues should any arise. Thank you.
Thank you. We do have a list of speakers. In speaking to Lindsay Dale Harris, I think they were not ready to proceed, so I'm going to call the next person up, Mr. Paul McKinley. Please. And you have registered with our... Okay, Ms. Taylor. Mrs. Taylor, you do have 5 minutes, whenever you're ready.
And thank you very much for giving me the opportunity to address you this morning on perhaps one of the most important issues that's faced our community in recent times. So my name is Mary Taylor, and I've lived in the immediate vicinity of Kennedy and Sheppard on and off for nearly 40 years. I presently live at 2351 Kennedy Road, directly across from Shoppers Drug Mart, pardon me, where I serve on the board as president, and I also serve as president on the board at 138 Bonus, the Greens at Tam O'Shanter. Prior to this, I lived on Glen Watford Drive since 1980. While there's much controversy and many negative and perhaps insurmountable problems associated with the plans to redevelop Agincourt Mall, all of these clearly stem from a desire to put too many people in one place with a total disregard for the tremendous impact that this will have on the existing, or for that matter, even future residents in our community. The situation is even more critical when we consider the countless other condominium developments arising in the area. Soon, their future residents, like the rest of us, will face total gridlock on our roads and difficult access to services to meet our shopping and other needs at what has always been the go-to place for that area, being Agincourt Mall. Between the towering condos planned for the property and those being built in its immediate vicinity, we may very well see the foreseeable future an influx of over 25,000 people, a number that is far greater than the populations of most of the towns in this province. So, for example, like if you took everybody that lived in Collingwood, Coburg, or Brockville, Uxbridge, took them all and put them in that area, that's what it would basically look like. We're worried that it's going to turn into another area similar to St. Jamestown, Thorncliffe Park, or even possibly the Jane Finch corridor with the amount of density in such a small area. Obviously, had the direction to develop the property been gleaned from the Agincourt secondary plan instead of one developed in isolation, we wouldn't be worrying about additional traffic volumes and the resulting hazards becoming significantly worse than these already are. Similarly, there wouldn't be the concern, particularly for our more senior citizens, losing an easily and readily accessible place to do their shopping, banking, and socializing. As it has been said many times, the proposed new Agincourt Mall is a community within a community, and it couldn't be said better that it will not be a development built to serve the needs of the wider community. It doesn't need to be, doesn't need to be to meet the profit objectives of the developer. These same profit objectives, however, need not to be your first consideration, nor should they be. You're here to represent the best interest of the existing community and its constituents, much in the same fashion as your predecessors did in their wisdom to support the original development of Agincourt Mall. While times have changed, and with this, the need to modify approaches to land uses for various reasons, I would hope that the common sense will still play a major role in determining what is best for Scarborough and what is best for the residents that reside in the area. It was once stated that the goal, when it comes to developing the Agincourt Mall property, should be, quote, to enhance the quality of life for everyone in the neighborhood, unquote. And yet, given what we have seen to date, we are nowhere close to achieving the same goal. In light of this, we do hope that you will not support the proposal presented today until there is a dramatic reduction in the proposed density level. The gentleman before me just said that slight improvement, and slight improvement is not enough. To be somewhat more specific, I believe, as do most others, that only low to mid-sized condominiums and apartment buildings be approved for the property, and that the total units be kept to a reasonable number of 2,000 to 2,500. When added to the recent build 600 units to the south side of Bonus, we're talking more than 3,000 units, or double that which was proposed in the Agincourt secondary plan. Providing Kennedy and Sheppard became serviced by subway transit.
Can I ask you to wrap up? 5 minutes.
Yes. While some would argue that Scarborough secondary plan is outdated, I would suggest that it is still very relevant. Abate changes, as I've recommended, should be appropriate for all concerned, and I do hope you will share this view with me, and I thank you very much for your time.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of the ma'am? Ma'am? Just, there could be some questions. Any questions of the deputant? Thank you, ma'am, appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Next is Rhoda Potter. Rhoda? All right. And Mrs. Taylor, you already spoke, oh, sorry, go ahead. Ms. Potter, you have 5 minutes.
Thank you. My name is Rhoda Potter. I'm president of Agincourt Village Community Association, which is just east of Agincourt Mall. And I have to thank you for the opportunity to speak on behalf of AVCA today. I have personally been involved in all of the discussion regarding the Agincourt Mall redevelopment from the very beginning. Thank you. I do see many of the community suggestions incorporated into this review report, and I thank the staff for that. AVCA has one major concern. Today I will speak of the present and future traffic gridlock at Kennedy Road, 401 Sheppard Avenue, and the impact of the lack of efficient public transportation and the lack of connectivity, both pathways and cycling. Today I will speak of disparity. Scarborough is 1/3 of the landmass of Toronto. North York has 20 subway stops, 2 Metrolinx RER corridors. Scarborough has 3 subway stops, 1 Metrolinx RER corridor. In the 2016 census, and this did surprise me, North York population, 655,913. Scarborough population, 632,098. Not that far off. The traffic studies completed for the Agincourt Mall redevelopment by North American Development Group indicates 74% of the traffic on Kennedy Road and 60% of the traffic on Sheppard Avenue drives through the community. What is their destination? 401, Highway 905 area to the north, 905 area to the east. Our community is a drive-through. Would improved public transportation eliminate some of this traffic? According to 42 Division, Police Division, Kennedy Road and Sheppard Avenue is identified as one of the highest accident rates, both pedestrian and vehicle, every month in all of 42 Division. What will happen when you add many more residents in the Agincourt Mall development to this immediate area that already has traffic congestion and concern, and lacks pedestrian pathways, cycle lanes, and efficient public transportation connectivity? What will happen when students who live in Agincourt Mall condominiums need to cross by foot, by car, or by bicycle Sheppard Avenue and Kennedy Road to attend a school? According to the review, there is no guarantee that the elementary children will attend Tam O'Shanter Public School, which is just next door. They wouldn't have to cross. In fact, that school already has 9 portables. As a retired elementary school principal of TDSB, I shudder to envision these students attending Lingate Public School, or Agincourt Junior Public, or North Agincourt Public School, while crossing these major arterial roads. Please note, these schools already overpopulated with 3 to 5 portables. AVCA agrees the redevelopment of Agincourt Mall needs to happen. However, we have our shovels ready to start digging. That is, to dig our way out of our community, because that will be the only way for us or the residents of the Agincourt Mall redevelopment to gain access to school, work, food, play, or social engagements. AVCA implores you, as city councillors and as planners, to together help the present-day Scarborough residents as well as the future residents in Agincourt Mall, as well as the 17 other planned mixed-use developments just in Ward 22, to move around, to let alone survive. We are being immobilized. Where is the equity in transportation between Scarborough and North York? There is none. The above facts prove it. If developments such as Agincourt Mall redevelopment move forward, and we're assured that they will, we are, as residents, desperately need your help. Attached to the councillors, I have given you a letter that we forwarded to Mayor Tory back in April, and it talks about disparity. We received no answer. With the approval of this and other mixed developments, please ensure improved transportation. Please help us. Thank you very much. Thank you.
Mary McLeod, please. Mr. McLeod? Sir, whenever you're ready, if you do have anything that needs to be shown overhead, we might be able to help you. If you got any overhead slides?
No, I have none today.
You have not? Okay. Are you ready?
Thank you very much.
No problem, sir. Go
I
ahead.
appreciate the opportunity to speak this morning. My name's Murray McLeod. I'm a professional engineer with 40 years of experience in transportation planning, a former president of the Chartland Community Association, and a member of the Scarborough Community Renewal Organization. Agincourt has been my home for 47 years. I would like to touch on some of the big picture planning issues that are vital to the future of Agincourt. When the North American Development Group filed their proposal for the Agincourt Mall redevelopment in June 2017, it was the second largest residential application in all of Toronto. That begs the question, would the proposed very high residential pressure push the Agincourt infrastructure and services networks too far? City planning's preferred alternative for the new mall would limit the density to 3.5, and this would accommodate 4,200 dwelling units, or approximately 8,000 to 11,000 people. That's like the size of the city of Port Hope. In other words, you would be imposing the needs of a whole new city, including its infrastructure and requirements for services in a layer on top of Agincourt Mall. These are new needs for a population that you didn't have before. They should have a substantial impact on the urban framework of Agincourt, including transportation, water and sewer, schools, health care, social services, and the like. For example, the intersection of Sheppard and Kennedy is currently at capacity and has already been identified as a safety risk. And further pressure on today's shortage of school capacity could be calamitous. But now I'd like to temporarily divert my focus from Agincourt Mall with its 9 condominium towers, and let's look at the Kennedy Road link south to 401. Most people don't know that planning is already underway for a total of 17 residential condominium towers on Kennedy Road from Agincourt Mall down to Highway 401. These would create an additional 6,900 dwelling units, so combining the activity of the Agincourt Mall area with the developments that are along Lower Kennedy Road, we are talking about a grand total of 11,000 dwelling units and 20 to 25,000 new people living there. Once again, how are you going to provide the additional infrastructure and services needed by those people? Let's take a broader look at Agincourt's big road congestion issue. First of all, the intersection of Kennedy and Sheppard is at capacity now, according to the BA traffic report. The 6-lane Kennedy Road link from Sheppard down to 401 is close to capacity in peak weekday periods and Saturdays. This 6-lane arterial should not be widened further for safety reasons, and the underpass below the CP rail tracks would be costly to expand. The roads to Metrogate and Cowdray developments are both cul-de-sacs. A new road is proposed to link the back of the Metrogate and Cowdray developments northwards to Sheppard Avenue, but that wouldn't service the primary demand direction to Highway 401. When you introduce 20,000 or more additional residents to the entire Agincourt corridor, we are now talking about layering on a city the size of Lindsay or Collingwood. Agincourt is already stretched to the limit for road capacity, transit, schools, healthcare, recreational centers, libraries, and social services. Finally, I'd like to make 3 suggestions. First, before agreeing to a new density for Agincourt Mall, you should ask, why are we not including a condition that was part of the previous secondary plan, namely that a new development density number must not be exceeded until a new subway is firmly committed? I'll wrap up. Secondly, strong and up-to-date secondary plans should be in place for all Scarborough areas having the potential for large-scale development. That is exactly how North York got firm control over the development in North York Centre. And third, for an area like North Scarborough, which is already a bedroom community, why don't we have strong employment targets that we are pursuing aggressively? What we need are buildings that include employment that will create a better balance for our city. In conclusion, I'd like to thank you all for your service to Scarborough and wish you great success in building a stronger city. Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. McLeod. Any questions of the deputant? Councillor Ainsley.
Sir, for this property, Mr. McLeod, so what would you like to see done with it if this application doesn't proceed? So if the mall closed down, if the mall closed down, for example?
Well, I'm sure there would be other people interested in developing it. There's no question it does need redevelopment.
So, sorry, if the mall doesn't close down, if the mall closed down, for example, you'd expect another retail operator would come in and buy it and operate it?
Or come up with a mixed-use proposal.
A residential and business?
Desirably, yes.
But you don't like this application?
It's too intensive on residential. It reduces retail that people enjoy now, and that's one of the major reasons why it's so popular, even though it isn't maybe, upscale, you might call it, so it's ripe for development, redevelopment. But I think, it's gone too far on the population end of mixed use.
So the application before us, so for yourself, or I'm not sure if you sorry, it doesn't say you're representing a community association, but what would be an acceptable level of residential development on this property for you?
Well, we got together a number of community people, including Rhoda and myself and Paul. We thought, and this was a number that was given in the local advisory committee in the Charrettes, that a level of 3,000 homes would be much preferable, and that would be accommodation for 8,400 people. But unfortunately, that was not taken into consideration by the developer.
Okay, all right. Thank you very much.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chair.
Thank you. Any further questions of the deputant? Thank you, sir. Appreciate it.
Thank you.
We do have Lindsay Dale Harris, if you're ready. You wanna come down, please? Thank you. Ma'am, do you have any overhead slides that you wanna show?
Thank you.
Staff would be there to help you. Thank you.
Going to speak from...
Okay, fantastic. Are you ready to go?
Okay.
Thank you, ma'am.
Good morning, Mr. Chair and members of Community Council. My name is Lindsay Dale Harris. I'm a partner of Bousfields, and we are the planning consultants for the North American Development Group, who are the owners of the 26-acre Agincourt Mall, and they are the people who are seeking approval of the site and area-specific policy, which will provide for a comprehensive development of that mall. Can everybody hear me okay? With me here today are representatives of North American, plus representatives of their consultant team. And they include the architect, Ralph Giannoni from Giannoni Petriconi. They include the landscape architect, Janet Rosenberg. They include the transportation studies, Alan Lloyd from the BA Group. And they include the servicing professionals, Alan Kimball from Saber and Kimball. These professionals have all prepared reports which have been submitted to your staff, which have been reviewed by your staff prior to recommending approval of the FASP. First, I'd like to advise Community Council that the applicant is very much in support of the FASP, which is before you today. Secondly, I'd like to thank your staff for the amount of hard work which they have put into ensuring that an excellent development will take place and that the broader public interest will be secured, both now and in the future. I'd also like to thank the public, Rhoda Potter and members of the Residents Association, who have come out to many, many public meetings and provided us with useful and thoughtful advice. While we may not have incorporated every suggestion, we have tried to respect their comments. Finally, I'd like to tell you just how excited North American is that the SASP is being recommended for approval. The redevelopment of this mall will result in a new, exciting, and complete community for Scarborough, and it's really a first. What makes it so exciting? Firstly, we have a great master plan which has been prepared by Giannoni Petriconi and refined by your planning staff. It provides for about 4,300 units, which will result in about 11,000 people. The amount of retail which is on the mall today will be retained and will continue. It will also provide far more parkland than is there today, and far more institutional uses in support. And I think everybody should remember, particularly the public, that this development is not going to happen overnight. It's going to be phased, and it will provide the necessary infrastructure step by step as determined by your staff. Secondly, I think it's important that this really will be a transit-oriented community. Virtually all the area falls within 800 meters of the GO station and about 300 meters of the proposed LRT extension. Through the proposed pedestrian linkages and the bike routes, it's going to be easy to get to the GO by bus, on foot, or, or on bike. And it will be easy to get to the proposed BRT stations. And while there's going to be, and you can see, a very extensive new public street system, the emphasis is going to be on pedestrian connections and not on the car. Thirdly, outstanding public facilities are being proposed as part of the community. And although there are actually large parks and community centers in the area, and you can see from this, oops, upside down, this overhead, just the extent of the green space and public spaces and parkland in the area, there's going to be 2 new public parks, which in total will be approximately 20% of the area. And in addition, as emphasis on the public realm is key, there will be a number of privately owned, publicly accessible, privately owned open spaces to enhance those linkages and connections. And there's actually going to be opportunity to provide additional community uses up in this location adjacent to the public library, where a cultural hub could be developed. Finally, and I think we should remember this, we are going to provide 4,300 units of housing which is in great demand in the city of Toronto. And the SAS will provide for a variety of new units in taller buildings, in mid-rise buildings, and in grade-oriented townhouses and apartment units. It will meet the needs of all ages and all stages in the community. In conclusion, this is just the first step. I hope to be before you requesting approval for a draft plan of subdivision, zoning bylaw amendment, site plan approval for a first phase, all of which will include extensive public input. You will have many opportunities to review the proposed development as we move through the process, but for now, I would just urge Community Council to support their staff's recommendation and allow the first phase of the SAFs to proceed.
Thank you, ma'am. Any questions of the deputant? Councillor McKelvey?
Hi, thank you for coming in today. You mentioned that there'll be 4,300 units, and I'm just wondering, are these all going to be condominiums? Will any be rental? And what are you thinking in terms of affordability of these units?
At the present time, we cannot tell you exactly what the breakdown between condo and rental will be, or there will be some affordable units, but the stage at which those affordable units will come on stream. The development will occur phase by phase, and in each phase, we expect there will be a balance of unit types.
And then can you just speak to the phasing that you have? So, for example, if you build the first condominium and you find that none of the residents are able to get their children into schools, will that inform your next phase or your next construction? Like, how are you rolling out not just the building, but also the decision-making behind what's going into these units?
So every application we make, be it the plan of subdivision or the zoning bylaw application, will have to be supported by a planning rationale and community support services analysis. It will be submitted to your planning staff. They will circulate to the school boards, and they will determine on what basis each phase should proceed.
So today we're just approving the general zoning and the
Today you're just approving, in principle, the idea that you want this mall to develop at a certain density and to provide a certain amount of public open space and public streets in order for the development to proceed.
Okay, thank you.
Councillor Lai.
Thank you for the presentation. Just a couple of questions for you. The 4,300 units, I have a staff report here that says 4,725 units. Has it been changed now, or?
Yes, well, as the densities recommended by your staff have gone down from what was originally proposed at 4.2 to 3.9 to 3.5, the total number of units within the development has declined.
So 4,300 units.
That's approximately the right number.
And within this 4,300 units, are they all high-rise condo units?
No, they are not. Where's my next picture here? There are definitely high-rise towers, and I believe there'll be in total at the end of the day maybe up to 10. There are mid-rise buildings, and they will be provided primarily along Sheppard and on the interior public streets. And there will be townhouse bases to those podium buildings, which will have direct access to the public street. And this is a rendering of the proposed townhouses, which will circle the new public park. So there will be a variety of unit types, there will be a variety of unit sizes, and there will be a variety of typologies.
So they're townhouses as well?
Yeah, well, the townhouses, they're in the base. They're in the base of the building, yes.
And you're saying that you're doing into phases. How many phases are you planning to do, and which phase are you going? I mean, I wanted to know the retail component. What is the GFA for the retail, and what types of retail other than the two big boxes, a grocery store and Walmart? And because my ward are just next to your ward, where Agincourt Community Centers, Agincourt Mall is, and we're concerned about the lack of places for my residents to go shopping, what they rely on now. So I'm just wondering, other than the two big boxes like a Walmart and the grocery store, what other commercial you're planning or retail you're planning?
So in terms of the big box, you're quite right. Walmart is the first big box, and it's going to move into an urban format, and it's going to be in the location shown as 1.
1 is Walmart?
1 is going to be the Walmart. So it's in the first phase. The no frills or the supermarket, because it's going to continue on, it will be in a later phase because it has to be incorporated into the base of new buildings. They're in 4A and 4B. That's where the no frills is. We see that there's going to be a very strong retail component along the Sheppard Avenue frontage, and there will be a strong retail component with restaurants and related surface uses in the area shown as Block 6.
So we're 6?
6.
Block 6 would be...
Block 6 is going to have retail along the east side. There'll be retail along the north side of Sheppard. There'll be major retail in the Walmart. And the total amount of retail and service at the end of the day will be equal to what's in the mall today. There's vacancies in the mall and there's issues with the mall, but the GFA in the mall today will be reproduced in the new development.
And so this is phase 1 is Walmart, and what about, do you have any idea of what your next phases are in the timeline?
So the timelines, as always with private development, the timeline depends a bit on the market. But in order for the development to proceed, there has to be significant dedication of public streets and public infrastructure. So you'll see that 1 is the Walmart. 2, over on the west side, is really the first part of the public park. So you can see those numbers all relate to the proposed phasing.
And timeline, I say ballpark is about maybe 5-10 years or what?
Well, yeah, it will take a while to build out these units. So it will be very dependent upon the market. But if we filed an application for rezoning, say by the 1st of September, it will take. So we're in 2019. It will take till 2020 for the approval. Then you have your site plan. So it'll be 2021 before the approvals. It'll be 2023, I think, before you actually get the first occupancies, maybe 2022.
Also, I've seen some cycling or whatever. What about parking? I mean, are there going to be enough parking for your retail?
Yes, we have looked at it in great detail. Alan Lloyd from BA has looked at the amount of parking that's required, and it's going to be almost exclusively underground. So there will be a transition over time, taking the surface parking spaces, which you see now for the Walmart and the no frills, and placing them underground. In the interim, there will be surface parking as well as below-grade parking, because people need surface parking in order to service the retail.
Thank you.
Any other questions of the deputant? I got a couple of questions for you, ma'am. Right now, is there any green space in the mall?
Green space in the mall?
Well, do you have any parks? Do you have any places where people can walk upon, or is it just inside the mall that people can do this?
The mall is a paved parking lot and a mall, and an enclosed building, one and a half single-story
The only place
mall.
people actually can walk is inside the mall.
They can walk in the mall.
What acreage of green space, have you agreed with staff, or are you proposing you're coming up with?
We're coming up with basically 20% of the developable area, so I think we're looking at 1.8 hectares in that order. And it's
green
split
space.
between the big park and the smaller park, which is meant to enhance the whole Sheppard Avenue experience.
Has there been any conversation regarding having community space and community space allocated by the mall development in order to, working with the community in order to enhance, the needs of the community?
Yes, there has been.
Can you elaborate a little bit on that, please?
Everybody's familiar, I'm sure, with the Aging Court Library, and based on our discussions with planning staff and community services staff, we think the best place for the additional cultural hub would be up adjacent to the library, at the north end of the park.
And this is a piece of conversation that is still carrying on.
Absolutely.
Will there be walking spaces in the mall? I mean, I see your corridors, your streets. Will there be wide enough sidewalks and everything else where people can walk around, an opportunity to meet others, an opportunity to shop?
Now, one of the things your staff were very insistent upon was the improvements to what they refer to as the public realm. They want wide sidewalks, they want double rows of trees in some locations, and they want to be sure that those sidewalks are in sun, not in shade for most of the day.
You mentioned something called the Sheppard LRT. I'm
Yes.
sure that you're familiar right now. We're talking about a Sheppard subway.
Yes, I am.
So maybe that word was something that you were
We should-
familiar with in the past.
I should have used a different word, absolutely.
Have you attended all the public meetings that have been held?
I haven't attended all of them. I've attended many, many of them.
Were these public meetings people that showed up and people had an opportunity to voice their concerns?
Yeah, people were very diligent, and they came and they spoke, and they were very helpful.
All right, I don't think I have any other questions. I thank you. Is there anything else that you forgot to say that you might want to add?
No, I'd just like to thank the committee for their time, the Community Council for its time.
Thank you. Questions of staff? Councilor McKelvey.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. So my question to staff is, we still have a long road before we have higher order transit. So what mitigation can be done in the shorter time frame in this area, or what are the plans that are, closer than the subway opening?
Subway.
Mr. Chairman, I'm going to direct these questions to staff who worked on the project and their team of both community planning and transportation planning involved.
So through the chair, Councillor, there's a number of existing initiatives underway. There's the upgrades to both service and station infrastructure at Agent Court GO, going from single-way peak service to two-way all-day service on the GO station, running almost every 15 minutes for transit, for regional transit. Local transit, city planning and transportation and the TTC are looking at opportunities in the short term to improve surface transit operations. There's already the express service with articulated buses running along Sheppard. There could also be options for bus priority measures at intersections, queue-jump lanes, those kinds of things. There's several major corridors in Scarborough where bus routes carry large volumes of riders, including Sheppard, and these are all being examined at this time.
So what are the timeframes for the improved service on the GO, and what could be the timeframe for the improved bus service?
So the GO improvements are under construction, and within a couple years will be in service, hopefully. And the improved bus service, it's just a matter of a process unwinding, and they'll come back to, I'm assuming, the TTC committee for approval. I don't have a date on that specifically, but as you heard from the applicant, we're probably 2 to 4 years out from seeing a building permit on any intensity for the site. There's still a rezoning process that would have to happen, and we could put measures in either the subdivision agreement or the zoning bylaw to hold or meter development until such time as infrastructure is available and operating.
And there's also a concern about local schools, and so can you just let us know what are the sort of discussions that you're having with the school board to mitigate this and to monitor as you lead into the different phases of the development?
Of course. So the school board's been part of the process throughout. They're currently undergoing a review of the local elementary and secondary schools, the TDSB. The TCDSB has less of a capacity concern, but they're still involved in the conversations. The TDSB is ongoing with their process and will be doing consultations in the fall of this year about capacity issues, looking at a longer term. One of the, actually a few of the deputants mentioned that the various development applications that are coming forward along the corridor. This allows us at least some certainty in terms of development pressures as opposed to guessing. So it allows us to kind of deal with the issue right away with the school boards and potentially explore if facilities need to be expanded or upgraded in the near term.
And what kind of modeling has been done or will be done looking at jobs in the area? Like where will the folks, these 11,000 people work?
So there was a certain amount of non-residential assumptions built into the corridor analysis where sites could deliver mixed use. The existing mall, as the applicant mentioned, the floor area will be retained for employment, but an additional 9,000 square meters of office is secured through the official plan amendment to potentially have employment opportunities there. There's also the east-west connectivity to the Consumers Road Business Park, which is a significant employment area with opportunities for growth. There's a secondary plan which has been approved by council for the area at the Victoria Park and Sheppard intersections that see about 12,000 to 14,000 new jobs coming into that area as well and securing the infrastructure necessary to facilitate that office growth. That's actually the second largest area outside of the downtown in terms of office concentration. So that's a very local employment node that with improved connectivity and transit along Sheppard, residents of this area will have access to.
And are you looking at the timing for that versus the timing and phasing for this development to try to sync them up?
The timing for the consumers?
Yeah.
So that we've already seen some of that uptake. We have a major application just west of Victoria Park on the former Lansing Centre site, which envisions an intensification of office but also residential there, implementing the recommendations of Consumers Next. There's another major employment, another office site in the area looking at some intensification. So with the recommendations of the secondary plan, we're starting to see some uptake to the west. Timing it again comes to market. The office market is particularly fickle, but people are looking at the Consumers Road area for potential growth in the office sector.
Thank you.
Any other questions of staff? Councillor Lai.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you, just a few questions here. What is the retail, existing retail areas at this point in time on Agincourt Mall?
So my figures indicate that there's about 27,000 square meters of retail for the existing mall sites. While we are not into a specific, a time when the specifics of the retail to be retained, because the zoning bylaw amendment has yet to be filed, we've been seeing numbers in the 24 to 25,000 square meters of retail coming back, and that could just be because the corridors and things that are included in the mall retail floor area are not included in this particular format of retail.
So basically, in terms of employment, did you say that it's about 14,000 new jobs, or what is the job situation now? How many do you estimate that there's an improvement of the jobs after this being said and done?
So through the chair, the 14,000 figure was for the area to the west at the Consumers Road Business Park at Victoria Park and Sheppard. On site, you could see probably the exact same retail or the same employment through retail replace itself with redevelopment over time. But what we're securing is an increase in office space. So there's currently about 1,400 square meters of office in the mall, which is doctors, dentists, and the mall administration, and largely vacant, honestly, at this point. The site and area-specific policy before you today secures about 9,000 square meters of office space to be part of the redevelopment.
So where would these office space been put on the master plan? Where exactly it is around that master plan map that we have?
The master plan that we've been working on with the applicant has it generally along Sheppard near Kennedy, but there's no specific location secured. So if they wanted to do a couple thousand square meters of office over multiple blocks to meet their 9,000, they could do that, or they could secure one building. I think that's probably about an 8-story, 7-story office building right at the corner where the existing medical office building would be, just to create a little cluster of office uses at Kennedy and Sheppard.
So in other words, it's going to be just like low rise, like 7-story, and office building is going to be there. Is it more than one, or is it depending on?
Again, through the chair, there's flexibility for how the office floor area is deployed. There's no specific requirement that it all be in one building.
Thank you. And just one final question. We heard about a lot of this traffic problem. Have you addressed with the comprehensive traffic report? How is it going to be addressed?
So through the chair, the planning framework review, which I referred to in my remarks and was brought up in other deputants, did look quite broadly at the transportation situation, and there is a map that's part of the report that shows how far afield it went. It also considered soft sites, so sites that don't have development on it yet but could have development. So there is a growth assumption built into the transportation analysis, and it was seen that over time, you know, especially with the implementation of transit improvements, the traffic situation can be managed by the existing infrastructure. It should also be pointed out, as I said in my remarks, that by importing residential uses to the site, there's an opportunity to balance the mode choice, so how people get around. More people walking to transit, more people cycling to transit, taking the express bus and the GO train will help, because malls will generally drive people. Well, people will generally drive to malls, but residents will have choice as how they get around.
Just my last question. On this report here, page 3 of 44, the density is 3.9, and that was 4725 units. And has this density be lowered, or is it 3.9?
Right. So through the chair, that was the last official submission from the applicants in February of 2019. There was no revision in terms of a piece of paper coming back over the counter making a request, but over time the applicant and staff have collaborated to come to this 3.5 density, which has been recommended to you today for approval. So
Are we approving 3.9? Because, you know, I was told that it's 4,300 units.
What's recommended for approval today is 3.5. We just wanted to show what was submitted by the applicant. So the applicant has been collaborating with us on the site and area specific policy, and what's recommended before you today is 3.5. If you were to jump down to a subsequent page in the report.
Yep, thank you, Mr. Chair.
Councillor Thompson.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. Through you to staff, just continuing on the line of questioning that Councillor Lai was focusing on. With respect to the density, the 3.5 to 3.9, so what's the actual reduction? In the report it says, I guess 3.5 is 4,200 units versus 4,700 units? So it's 500 units differential?
Through the chair, that's generally correct. I should also point out that these are assumptions based on a unit size. We don't have a zoning amendment to show us exactly what it could be.
Okay. Can you tell me the role that economic development has played as part of this process of the application?
Through the chair, they have been part of our thinking. They've attended the workshops that I've attended. Staff from economic development have been there, and bearing in mind their thoughts and recommendations are one of the reasons why we held pretty firm on including a minimum office requirement for the site, which was, I believe, a point of contention at one point with the applicant, but we have secured through the SAS this 9,000 square meters of office GFA.
I appreciate your answer, but it's still not clear to me as to what role economic development plays. You've indicated that they have attended. What does that mean? Just attended, and to do what? What did they do?
Well, when I say they attended, it was an open house format, so they were, you know, at the land use station answering general questions about the repurposing and reformatting the mall and securing. In our discussions, internal deliberations, they've been sitting at the table advocating for the increase of office to make it a true live, work, play environment. They didn't necessarily put a pen into the report because we were advancing their recommendations in our recommendations.
So there's still an opportunity for further consideration with respect to EDC?
Absolutely, yes.
Okay. Number of the speakers have spoken about gridlock, and I think in your comment to Councillor Lai, and in fact it may have been Councillor McKelvey, but I think it's Councillor you indicated that, what appears to be the current traffic management, that the infrastructure now is able to manage the traffic load. Is that what you said?
It's the infrastructure as it exists, but also contemplating upgrades to transit facilities, as well as a key component of the consideration is a new street to be constructed from Sheppard down into this Cowdrey Court near the Delta Hotel to cross the rail corridor, which provides a bit of a bypass for that local community to get in and out. The rail corridor is a specific barrier. We're in the process of procuring consultants to examine that north-south connection to get through the rail corridor and allow for those residents to leave their community without having to use Kennedy or Sheppard.
So this is part of a master traffic plan that's being focused, that's being prepared?
Through the chair, there's a feasibility study that has been completed, and an environmental assessment is going to be underway to secure an alignment as well as detailed design for both a north-south street for vehicles as well as a north-south pedestrian and cycling connection, monies for which have already been secured through development approvals from Section 37.
Right. Can you then tell me a little bit about the work that's being done with respect to the infrastructure, specifically focusing on sewer, water impact, and so on? We have challenges throughout Scarborough where people complain about they talk about water pressure, but it's really the flow rate. What are the impacts here, and has studies been done in order to model to determine what the overall impact would be once the full build-out takes place?
Through the chair, maybe I'll start and then I'll hand off to my colleague from Engineering and Construction Services. So again, looking at the broader framework review, we did look at soft sites as well as the various pressure districts and infrastructure, and there has been a model created. We have identified specific constraints in that model right now as detailed in the report, and as the future zoning amendments applications and subdivision applications for various developments in the area advance, we'd be securing the necessary upgrades through that development to those specific sanitary and water pressure issues.
So I'm Salim Khan from Engineering and Construction Services. Through the chair, yes, regarding sanitary sewers, upgrades will be done, and we are securing those ones as part of this development. And regarding water, a water analysis model has been established, and there is a couple of considerations being considered, which is shifting the pressure district. And currently what we have done, there are monitoring being conducted on the existing system to figure it out how that impacts the system. And then we will be securing any upgrades required to the system.
Thank you. That was your last question, Councillor. Any other questions of staff? Seeing none, I got a couple of questions. How many public meetings were held on this project?
So it looks like it was right by the garden of the DVP.
You'll bear with me a second, Councillor.
DVP. You know, the road ramp to the DVP.
Through you to you, I guess. There were at least 8 formal meetings, as well as a number of pop-up consultations, and we were also available whenever members of the public came to the Civic Center with specific questions, and I personally had a handful of discussions with stakeholders just casually at the Civic Center.
The last public meeting that was held, how wide was the distribution of flyers that will advise the community that this meeting was to be held, I believe, here in Scarborough Civic Center?
Through the chair, we did a postal drop, and based on the postal codes that were used for the drop, it stretched from Victoria Park, in some cases almost to Morcambe Road because of the one postal code. 56,000 notices were distributed, and between 250 and 300 people attended. Not everybody signed in, but it was well attended and well notified.
So you would say that the community had an opportunity to voice their concerns time and over and over again. Would I be correct?
Through you, yes, that would be correct, and there will be continued opportunities for community engagement as the rezoning and subdivision applications proceed.
Has there been conversations between my office, your office, and and people of the public regarding looking at the educational aspect and how we, will be, looking to, assist the people that will move in the area with, schooling?
Yes, your office has been coordinating this as part of both this application, but also applications which have been submitted along the Kennedy corridor south of Sheppard.
Have we asked staff to come up with numbers regarding transportation and looking at, and working with Metrolinx and looking at new means in how we enhance our request into the city or into the province regarding a subway or an LRT and justify justify what we do to move on?
That's correct. In February of 2019, Council directed City Planning to report back just on that, and that, the research on that report back is currently ongoing.
Question of engineering. I believe that you have done the analysis regarding the low-pressure water, and the mall developers have been very helpful in making sure that what we have right now is enhanced. I know that the water pressure in that area is lower, but they've come up and working with you in order to address the situation?
Yes, through Chair, this is correct. So it is still in the study stage, and we are studying various options. And definitely we will be securing the issues of the low pressure in this area. And that will be related to the phasing and new zoning applications when they are submitted.
Let me ask a general question of staff. Is there something that we forgot, or something that we missed, or something that we would have done different?
Mr. Chairman, I think I'd like to try to answer that. I think that this was a major application, and as a result, staff did undertake a major framework review of the area and the broader area. We dedicated a lot of resources and time to this analysis. We worked closely with the applicant to try to get to an arrangement that was supportable, and I think we've covered quite a bit of distance in this application.
Let me rephrase that question one more time, Mr. Julian. I want to thank you for answering. Have we done all due diligence, all the departments, engineering, transportation, planning, economic development, that satisfies this application?
Mr. Chairman, all applications undergo that same due diligence, but as all applications, we have circulated to all the commenting divisions in the city and outside the city. We've incorporated their comments in this report, and we have incorporated the comments of the general public, and I think we have done our due diligence.
Have I held your feet to the fire?
We have had many interesting discussions.
All right. Thank you very much. Appreciate it. Colleagues, speakers on the item. Councillor Lai. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I'd like to begin by thanking staff and for working very hard on this project, and for all these deputants that are here who cares enough for our community. And I echo some of you, especially Rhoda, about what you've done. We're not against any kind of development, but we really wanted to work together to move Scarborough, that we will be equitable, just like transit and all that. I think it's very important that, and on page 6 of 44 of the staff report, and they're talking about creating a complete, vibrant, diverse, connected, green, and sustainable community, and which is a community focal point. And I really echo that, and I think Scarborough really needs one of this kind of community. But we need to work very hard together to make sure that it works, and going forward, that we are visionary. Like I always said, we should be like Wayne Gretzky, we skate where the puck is going, not where the puck is. So I know it's difficult to have change, but I think if change for the better, we may have growing pains and all that, but I hope the developer here will hear us. And we have done a lot of community consultation, and I really, really thank all those who care enough to come out to say. And my ward is just adjourning Ward 22, and we care a lot about how we are, and we care about employment growth and all that. And we really, I guess my concern for my ward is about the decline of the retail space from the 24,000 square meter, from 27,000 square meter to about 25 square meters. But I think time has changed now, and people shop online a lot, but it's like the cultural hub that we want it to be. You know, it's not just about retail, it's about how we hang out together as a cultural hub for us. And I just really wanted to reiterate the fact that we need to change, and it might be a kind of a big change here, but we need to make Scarborough, the way that we can make Scarborough being equitable is that whether, just like the analogy of whether have the chicken first or egg first, and then we need to build some density and to make sure that we have enough people there, enough residents there to make sure that we will fight for our transit, our Sheppard subway, to be extended to the Scarborough area. So I will support the proposal and the staff recommendation, and I just wanted to just reiterate, I can't stress enough the importance of we working together to make sure everything works, and I'm sure staff will work together with economic development, and we will make it a very good project for all, for Scarborough. Thank you.
Any other speakers? Looking that there's no other speakers, I will take the opportunity to move staff recommendations. I want to thank members of the public. I want to thank my community. I want to thank them all. This was not an easy process. When they first came to see me, I was the councillor to the north. I made some recommendations. There were public meetings. I attended the first public meeting at the Agincourt Mall, and I remember even a member of my family speaking against the proposal. One of the things that I like about what is happening here is that we're looking the opportunity to have a cultural hub. And this is not a cultural hub where we gather for shopping. This is a cultural hub, and a hub that will service the community right besides the library. In working with a developer, we can probably look at having a theater. We can probably look at having a community center. Those are items that we will need to converse as we move forward. I took exception to the fact that somebody said Scarborough LRT. Well, right now we have on our mess a proposal for a Scarborough subway. Indeed, there's going to be a lot of development in the area, and most of you were invited to come and meet what is happening on June the 10th and speak to the developers and see what their plans are. Some of you came, some of you did not come. We had about 150 people that showed up. Scarborough Agincourt is going to be a hub for a lot of development coming along. And if we do it and we do it right, this is our first one, I think in years to come, we will be very happy that this happened, and we look ourselves backwards and say, we all did it together, and be proud of it. So I say to you that in moving forward, this is only the first of a couple of things to come, and a few more meetings that we will have with the planners, the developers, and you will all have an opportunity to engage yet again on how we shape the mall. The mall right now, for those of you that visit, and I'm sure that many of you visited, it's a patchwork of different little stores, a patchwork of people trying to survive. This is not the mall of the 1970s. I remember in 1970 having a business on the Danforth, and we wanted to get to Agincourt Mall to expand our business, and at that point in time, we were looked upon and said, sorry, you don't qualify to be in here, you don't fit. Well, times have changed. Times have changed to the fact that right now a lot of people shop online. There's a new means of doing business, of shopping. And indeed, what we see here is a network of two if you want to call it pillars, that will hold the place together, shopping entities, the food store and Walmart. You will also see a lot more new shops that will come by that will be niche in the areas. Some of you had an opportunity to visit shops by Don Mills. They're thriving. They're doing well. I was there last night, the other night for dinner. I tell you, I couldn't find parking. I had to go park in the back. I hope that's not going to be the case to be. I can't ask for reserved parking for myself, and I won't. But folks, I want to thank staff. I want to thank community, and I want to thank the developer for bringing this forward to us. And I'm commending to you for us to have staff recommendations. Having said that, if there's any questions of me, I'd be more than happy to. Okay. All right, all those in favor, recorded vote, please. Councillor Thompson, Councillor Lai, Councillor McKelvey, Counselor Karygiannis, Counselor Ainsley, Counselor Crawford. Unanimous. Thank you very much. Passed.
Mr. Chair, just before you move on, SC 7.14, I had asked some questions about that. I'm prepared to release that one. I'd like to vote in the negative on that, so if you could deal with that item.
Point 14? Okay, can we have the motion up, please? SC point 14. You want a recorded vote, Counselor? Okay. All those in favor, recorded votes. Counselor Lai, Counselor McKelvey, Counselor Karygiannis, Counselor Ainsley, Counselor Crawford. All those opposed, Counselor Thompson. Passed. Thank you. Thank you, Counselor. Voting on the item. All those in favor? Passed. You want to record a vote on that one too? Okay, recorded vote on the item. All those in favor, Councillor Lai, Councillor McKelvey, Councillor Karygiannis, Councillor Ainsley, Councillor Crawford. All those opposed, Councillor Thompson. Thank you. I think the next one is SC 7.4, and it's called time pending here, or we have another one that's coming? Sorry, 7.3. Okay, next item is SC 7.3. Is there any speakers on the item? Okay, no speakers. Questions of staff? Speakers on the item? SC 7.3. Seeing none, I would like to move staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. SC 7.4. We have no speakers. Questions of staff? Speakers on the item? All right, I would like to move staff recommendations. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.5. 6351 Steeles Avenue East zoning amendment and draft plan subdivision application final report. Councillor Lai, I held it. Questions of staff? Speakers on the item? Councillor Lai?
Thank you, Mr. Chair. I would just like to thank staff, especially the planning and the economic development staff, for working very, very diligently to expedite this in a very expedient manner. And I just wanted to say that, you know, this is a good opportunity for Scarborough to have. This will create about 600 to 1,200 jobs, and is a very good news for Scarborough North residents and for the Scarborough area in general. So I just wanted to, having said that, I would like to move for staff recommendation, Mr. Chair.
Questions of the mover? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. SC 7.3.
If we lose 100 spots, it's not on the street there.
Yeah, but the bus is parked there, that's it.
No, but they just temporary, but I'm just saying.
Okay. You move
Yeah.
on? SC 74713. We do have speakers on that item. I was wondering if Norm Evans is present? Norm Evans? Okay. Ann Evans? Okay. Ross Ichvas? Georgina Falaise? Would you come down, please? Mrs. Falaise, you do have 5 minutes. Anytime you're ready, ma'am.
Thank you, Mr. Chair and Community Council members. We're here today to revisit the traffic calming measures on Vradenburg Drive. I'm here as a parent of students at the school, Vradenburg Public School, and as a parent council member. I'm also here on behalf of the school. The principal could not attend as they have their graduation today. The main concern is safety. Safety is our number one concern for being here today. Vradenburg is a school that it borders the 401 to Sheppard, Warden to Victoria Park. It is a heavily trafficked area, as we've said before. This map shows from the 401 there's a lot of cars that will get off at Warden, divert through the neighborhood to get down to this earlier talked about community business area here at Consumers Road, which is a very dense community area and business area. There are a lot of cars that will get off the highway at Warden, cut through Vradenburg Drive, which is right here, to go down to this to avoid the Victoria Park congestion off the Victoria Park off-ramp. What we've noticed is that there's a lot of vehicles that are coming down, and the students are not safe when we have this many cars coming in the area that are not local traffic. We also have concerns because on Vradenburg Drive there are no physical crosswalks for students to cross. There's one at the top of Lowcrest here at Vradenburg and Lowcrest, and one at the bottom, which are roughly 500 meters apart. So we do look at where is there a safe crossing for the students of our school. Right now, unless they cross at the top of Vradenburg or at the bottom of Vradenburg, there is no safe crossing for them. So we are concerned about the speed, the amount of traffic, and also having a safe crosswalk for those students. This is the front of the school. Right now there is no traffic calming measures, no stop signs, no speed humps, no crosswalks. So we are here today to voice concerns for those students who are crossing. A lot of them take a path here that's not very visible. There's a crosswalk, there's a walking path there, but no crosswalk or speed humps where the students can safely cross to the other side to access their public school. So we're looking at something that can be done for safety concerns for these students. Thank you.
Thank you, Mrs. Falaise. Any questions of the deputant? Councillor Ainsley.
Thank you. I just wanted to ask, has the school requested a signalized crosswalk in front of the school?
We had asked for that. Right now they were looking at the speed humps, but we are looking at requesting for a crosswalk. That would be of primary concern.
Okay. And what about police enforcement?
There hasn't been too much police that I've seen out there. I don't know if the principal is connected with them in terms of speeding, but I also know when the traffic study was done, a few parents voiced concerns to me that it was done over the March break. So I don't know exactly when that traffic study was done in the area, that it was indicative of a time where there's a lot of traffic on that road.
Okay, all right,
March break, the schools are closed, people don't work as often, so if that could be looked into as well. But a crosswalk would be the best safety measure for those students to be able to walk across.
You prefer a crosswalk over speed humps? Or?
As the school, yes, the school has voiced concerns that a crosswalk would be safer than the speed humps.
Okay, all right, thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Ms. Falaise. Any other questions? Nope. Okay, I do have a motion that will address both issues. If staff can put that up, please. Colleagues, I want to thank you. This was an item that was deferred before. There was a question of a stop sign going up on Low Crest and Vandenberg. That was something that was approved the year before. The stop sign has already been put up. I had opportunity to be at the school number of times. I do have family that live close by the school. Certainly, this is an area where people cut through if they want to avoid Sheppard and Warden. They will cut through Wishenwell. They go into Brandenburg, down to Low Crest, and right across and do the same thing on the other side and follow on Scarden. Scarden on the east side of Warden has speed humps because a lot of people, and they've been there for a long time, because a lot of people were using that Scarden in order to cut across. The only thing we're looking for here is to make sure that, number one, the children that live on Shrewsbury have an opportunity to go through the pathway and go to school and to have a crosswalk. Pathways are something that we have in order to assist people to cut through and have an opportunity to walk, to be able to get faster. Right now, and that in that path, there is a pothole that I hope that will get fixed sooner than later. It acts as a barrier, and we thank you for having it there, but please do get around to fix it. This was a similar situation in Councillor on this, the street was just north. It was between your predecessor, Councillor Lai. There was a school there that we allowed a crosswalk on Heatherside. If you remember, we did it last year. The school was just pointing out, and we allowed for a crosswalk to go across to the pathway, and we put a crosswalk across, and this is what I'm proposing. I'm also proposing to have speed humps along the way to slow the traffic down, and a stop sign at Brandenburg and Aspen. Questions? Nope. Good. Any questions of staff? All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. Thank you. I think we do have one more item. SC 7.18. Would that be correct? Okay. SC 7.18. Any speakers on the item? Questions of staff? All right, I do have a motion that I worked with staff. If they can put it on, please. So what this proposes is that we allow speed humps in front of Bridlewood School between Batterswood Drive and Akara Court. This is a street, Bridlewood, that is used primarily for people that want to cut across from Sheppard onto Huntingwood in order to avoid the Warden and intersection and use Huntingwood and go across. This is a thriving school. Many kids in that school. There's development that's happening on Sheppard, and the school population will increase, I don't want to say twofold, but certainly by 1/3. There's close to about 3 towers that are been built on Sheppard, just in front of the school, and I'm asking you to support this amendment. All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. And that's a wrap, right? One more? Oh, okay. Good.
You mean his thing? Okay.
You wanna reopen your thing?
Yeah, I'm just wondering, I apologize,
It's okay, Counselor,
Chair,
no
if we
problem.
need- I needed to reopen up an item. It is the SC 7.7, 2787 Eglinton Avenue East. I've just conferred with our legal that a change has to happen on the motion that I moved.
Okay.
And we have to reopen it. It's just,
All
we're
right.
taking out the word
All those in
support.
favor to reopen?
And we can't direct staff to support an item.
All right.
Um,
Opposed? Carried. It's reopened.
Okay, so staff are doing, so just very quickly, which we'll correct for the future. We can't direct staff to support my mic is on. Yeah, it's on. We can't support staff, or we can't direct staff to support a development. They have to come to that decision themselves, and that my motion incorrectly actually told or directed staff to support. So we're just removing the word support. Well, yeah, anyway, I do apologize about that, but...
You're never wrong.
Well, we've corrected it. And I think what they've done is just taken out the word support. If there are any other changes to the motion that have to happen for council, we will do that, but this, again, it just is done quickly, just to make sure that our legal obligations are correct moving forward.
All right.
Okay.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
Thank you.
Thank you, Counselor. Counselor Ainsley.
Yes, sir. The Scarborough Community Council pass and declare as bylaws bills number 999 to 1004, 1006 to 1013, 1053, and 164, prepared for the June 25th, 2019, meeting number 7 of the Community Council.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried.
I have another motion I would also like to move, Mr.
By all
Chair.
means, Counselor Ainsley, sir.
Thank you.
By all means.
That Scarborough Community Council pass and declares a bylaw, a confirmatory bill to confirm the legislative proceedings of the Scarborough Community Council, acting under delegated authority at meeting number 7 on June 25th, 2019.
All those in favor? Opposed? Carried. That's it, we're done. 11. Are we the first ones, or did you?
All right, 11:15.
Meeting to adjourn?